So welcome to part 2 of your journal. This is Chaim Levy, the author, and we're at the how to use this journal page. What we're going to do now is we're going to go over the 4 parts of the journal, the 4 pages of the journal, I guess you'd call them, that will repeat themselves for the next 12 weeks. It's the meat of the journal. Everything we were doing now was effectively to get to this point. Now, we split the journal into 2. The first part explains the theory, and the second part is the actual 12-week guided journal. We intentionally left out specific dates on the second part because it gives you control, it gives you room to be flexible. You might want to take a break. You might want to go 5 weeks straight, then pause for a little bit, or maybe you want to go for a month straight. You have something that's heading your way, you want to get ready for it. So what that effectively does is, without dates, it gives you the opportunity to pick up and start where you want, or you can just go straight through. You might be on the path of just going straight through. So we have 4 reoccurring pages. Okay, first one is the journal page. The second one is path to progress, where you're setting your goals. The third page is weekly goal tracker, and the fourth is looking at the trail behind. What that does is it helps you assess your progress and move forward. All right, so let's go through them one by one. And in this recording, what we're going to do is we're going to go over how to use those pages, what's the best way to go about it, and what's the intention. Okay, so page 1 is the journal page. This page, you got 3 words that come up are explore, reflect, and write. Why these 3? Well, let's break it down. Explore is your chance to dive into your mind. Think big or small. There's no right here, especially when you're starting off. And you're not an experienced journaler, so it's just kind of like jotting down what you're thinking, what's coming to your mind. Reflect on maybe some significant points in life, or this past week, or what this upcoming week. Then you have reflect. Reflecting back on what those weeks are. The first is just kind of like a mental exercise. Reflecting is what those significant things might be, and then you're just going to kind of start to write. Just start with anything. Remember, I'm going to say this a few times, this is a journey. This is a lifestyle. So it's not about getting it right the first time, because there is no getting it right. It's about creating a wave, as we've said in part 1, a wave of positivity that you can ride and keeps you above water and takes you to shore at the moments that you need it. Okay, finally, obviously, it's right. Journal this, sit down, write down your thoughts, write down your goals, if you will, your aspirations, where you want to be on week 12, right? Now, here's the cool part about it is you have 2 blank pages, 2 journaling pages, and if you notice, they actually don't even have any graphics on them because I didn't want to interfere with your journaling process. Just leave it as a journal page, and it doesn't have to be just about goals. It could be it could just be pouring out your thoughts. It could even be doodling. Or if you want to draw something, and markers is your vibe for that day or to start off, then that's great too. Because the point is to start in a significant way. You already picked up the book. You picked up the journal. So that's a great step. Now, if this is your first time, it might be a little stiff. So, these are some questions you might ask yourself. Why do I want to journal? Why do I have this book in my hands? Could I gain from self-awareness? And why? I've had students that have said, hey, I have a really big problem with self-awareness, and I've suggested to them try this journal, and that helps them kind of get into their inner sense. If that could work, or you can always take the path of what am I grateful for? Just kind of journaling down, writing down, what are you grateful for? Just to get into the vibe, get into the rhythm of journaling. Name your biggest strengths, your biggest weaknesses. You can't get anywhere if you don't identify yourself. Your strengths and weaknesses are the way to start. What are your short-term and what are your long-term aspirations? Routine is really key in this whole process. So it's really important that you set aside a specific time of the week, and that can even be one of your written down goals, which we'll get to in the next step, which is, when do you do this? Is it every day? Are you journaling every day? You're not going to be setting goals every day, right? But are you journaling every day? Are you journaling once a week? Is it on a Friday morning? Is it a Saturday night? Is it a Thursday night before you go to sleep? Is it early in the morning before, you have to have that in your mind, but create the habit of consistency. Habits are your best friend and your biggest enemy. When you have a habit, so it just carries you even mindlessly. You don't have to think about it, and that's the lifestyle we want to create. That sense of awareness. In fact, your first goal might just be setting a regular time to journal. Concentrate on reflection. Your journal is your space to reflect on significant events or moments in your life. Think about how these experiences have shaped you, or what they've done, and have you learned from them. What's really important, let's make mention of that, is you want to make sure that you're also going to have a time where you're going to reflect back and review your entries, right? Because looking forward is great, but growth comes from studying the past. The second page of the journal, the second part, is called Path to Progress, and this is the section where you will actively choose your goals. This is where you chart your course for the week. Your mind, soul, body, and relationships. The 4 pillars. For the mind, it doesn't have to just be a book. It could be a book, but the mind would start with identifying a thought process that would strengthen you, that would revolutionize, that something that you've always wanted to conquer, or it might be a negative thinking process that you have, and you say, I really always see the cup as half empty. I'm a yes person, and I find myself thinking insecurely. So maybe you want to conquer that. So it could be on the positive mindset. It could be on the negative mindset. It could be, going after a book. Maybe it's too early in the beginning to start with this process. You want to just get into the rhythm. That's your mind. Okay? And the important thing is to break it into bite-sized pieces. For the soul, focus on actions that bring positivities, or remove actions. Maybe there are certain actions that you're doing that are slowing you down, or there's something you've always wanted to attain. For your body, it's self-care. It could be something as simple as identifying the gym you want to go to. You don't have to actually go to the gym in the first week, because remember, we're not trying to change the world. We're not trying to revolutionize and flip your entire life upside down, so to speak. We want stability. So you might this week, I'm just going to sit down and research which gym I'm going to go to. Okay, that's a goal. You've accomplished that. That might be your body. In relationships, start figuring out which relationship do you want to improve. Is there a toxic relationship in your life? Or if you're fortunate that there's not, maybe there's a relationship that you want to just improve. Spend more time with your younger brother or your sister. Call your parents. Something to that extent. And it might just be identifying in the first week. Remember to go back and read the chapter, The Smart Goals, in chapter 5 for tips on that. We really go through how to make sure they're sustainable. Page 3, that's going to be reoccurring, is your weekly goal tracker. Simplify the process. See it in front of you. Okay, so what you're going to do with your weekly goal tracker is we really set it on a daily basis, where you can take each day and write what those goals, what's the goal of that day. Take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase, just take the first step, said Martin Luther King. Meaning, like, you have a vision, you don't have to see the end game. I've had students that are perfectionists, and they've had a very challenging time because what's the end goal? What's the whole process going to be like? You might not be that way. So you might just have to what's the first step of going up the staircase? And that's what this weekly goal tracker does, is it helps you achieve your goals. It helps you see in front of you. So you have the time of day, you have the section that deals with what the goal is, and then you have on the right, it says MSBR. So you're going to write down which one of these is it. Now, don't overload the day, because like I said, time and time again, we're not trying to create an unsustainable, revolutionized lifestyle all of a sudden. So we want to touch on the major factors of your life: your education, your mindset, your actions, your self-care, your relationships, right? Touch on each one of those week after week, and you're creating this positive momentum. So don't write too much in there. Maybe each day there's 3 lines in it, but you might not do MSB. You might just choose 2 things. You might choose 1 thing for the first Sunday, so to speak. Now, it's important to write a time, an actual time, because we're trying to commit. The challenge we have in our generation, what I've seen from students, is the actual commitment. So when you have a time, you have a goal, you have what it is touching, which part of my life is it touching, right? Then the chances are you're going to be able to succeed with it. That would be the goal tracker, page 3. And what's important is, you don't want to take upon yourself goals that are too much. You don't want them to be too little, but I prefer too little and build up momentum, but sustainable, than too much and stop and give up. All right? And, you want to kind of just touch base on each one. I would say that 2 goals a day is a great day. And again, if you've taken upon yourself to read 2 pages a day of 7 habits, right? It doesn't mean you can't read 50 pages a day. That's fine. But your goal for your MSBR is 2. So you accomplished your goal. If your goal is to eat a nutritious lunch, you might be eating a terrible breakfast and a terrible dinner, right? But you've accomplished your nutritious lunch, or it's just cutting out soda, right? Or it might be reducing screen time for an hour on Tuesday night at 11 o'clock. So what about the rest of the week? It's terrible. You're subjugated to your screen time. It's not terrible, because the idea here is to create positive momentum day after day, week after week, until you really have your entirety and the main focus of all the main points of your life going in the same way. Now, page 4, which of the recurring pages, is looking at the trail behind. And what is that effectively? So what that is I'll just quote John Dewey, who was a philosopher in the early 1900s. We don't learn from experience, we learn from reflecting on experience. And what that means is experience doesn't teach us anything if we don't reflect on it. So this is all great. We're journaling, we're setting goals, we're putting them into action. But if we don't kind of learn from our experiences, then we're bound to repeat them again, or unfortunately have to learn in a tougher way. So what this is kind of like celebrating our wins, learning from our losses, and it's going to have these questions of, what was your goal? Write it down. What was it? Have it in front of you. What went well? What went well about this week's goal? It was great. I loved the book. I loved the, reducing screen time. The therapy session was amazing for me. Cycling with a friend, something like that. It was so good. What didn't go so well? Oh, I realized that Sunday morning to go on a nature walk at 8 o'clock is too ambitious for me. I need to hit it at 10 o'clock. Okay, great. Write that down. How could I learn from it? And then there's a little section on the bottom where you can kind of, just add your notes, which is great, because when we were kind of formulating how to put this journal together, I realized that you have quite a lot of opportunity to just share your thoughts. They're just not on one page. So why are these questions so important? Why are answering them so important in this 4th page? Because setting goals is really cool, but it's even cooler when you celebrate your wins and learn from your losses. It's your personal growth magic trick. You really can build on it. Don't stress about achieving something big. Focus on the long term. Focus on the long term. If you listen to the recording about the battle between the cheetah and the deer, so then the outlook is, the cheetah goes very fast for a very short amount of time, and the deer can run for 11 miles at a slower pace, but he's gonna outmaneuver the cheetah because he's going to make it to his goal. He's going to last for another day, because it's not about just going strong for a short term. And that's what it's about. Goals, identifying them, bite size. If you have any questions or you want to send any comments, feel free to email me at hi@msbrjournal.com. I would be excited to hear your feedback or any questions that you would want clarification in terms of like, how do I go about it? Which one of these pages I kind of need help on? So good luck journaling, and hear from you soon.